Okay, video number 2, scientific methods, focusing on variables. The purpose of this video is going to be to explain the importance of controls and to review dependent and independent variables. Right? Independent and dependent variables. The best place to start is, what do these words mean, right? Independent. When you're independent, you can do whatever you want. You can decide whatever you want. You can choose when you want to wake up. You can choose not to brush your teeth, right? It's independent. It's the same with the variables. Dependent is something that depends on something, right? Like it depends on the independent variable. Right now, you guys depend on your parents. Okay, so they're be like the independent, and you depend on them, and whatever happens to them affects you, and you don't have control over that. All right. So the independent, you can choose whatever you want. Dependent, it's what is being affected. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I want to see what annoys my sister the most. What annoys my sister the most? My independent variables could be eating with my mouth open, moving her stuff, hiding her phone, talking to her friends. These are things that I get to decide. I am independent. I can decide these things in the experiment. The dependent variable, how annoyed she gets, right? So that dependent variable, how annoyed she gets, depends on the independent variable. Okay, pretty straightforward. Now this is where we get to the tricky part of the experiment. How do I measure how annoyed she gets? How do I convince someone that one way of annoying her is more effective than another way, right? So this is where I really have to think and think about how I can convince someone of something. This is the key part of an experiment, convincing someone of something, okay? So here is an example, right? I do all of the things. So I eat with my mouth open, I move her stuff, I touch her phone, I talk to her friends, right? And I do that throughout the day. And whenever she yells at me the most, that's the one that annoys her the most. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? But I think there's some flaws in this example because she could maybe, like, at the end of the day, after me annoying her all day, she's extra angry and she yells at me extra loud, and that affects how convincing my argument that whatever it is that I did at the end of the day, that is the most annoying. It's affected by the fact that I annoyed her all throughout the day. Okay, so think about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count the number of times she says my name, Caleb, which is what she says when she's annoyed with me. And then I will also take a picture of how red her face gets. So this is how I'm going to collect data, right? Every day at 3 p.m., I choose one of the ways that I'm going to annoy her, and I'm going to do that for 15 minutes. Okay, and I'll do a different one each day. But first, the first day, we will begin by just seeing how many times she says my name, Caleb, and how red her face gets with me just being there not doing anything. Okay, I can compare my results to this. So I'll then repeat this for 3 weeks, and I'll average the results, and then I'll be able to say which thing annoys my sister the most. Okay, so a control. I think the second option was better, but a control can be two different things, right? One is something that you can compare your results to. So if we think back to the second example, at the beginning, what I did is just I saw how red her face would get and how many times she said my name with me doing nothing, right? And so that's something I can compare the rest of the results to. So, because if she says my name, Caleb, 3 times and I'm not even doing anything, then I can compare that to, let's say, when I move her phone, right? And she says Caleb 3 times. That's like no different than me being normal, right? So you can use that control as a way to compare to your results, your dependent variables. Okay. The second one is that it's something that you do not change during an experiment, and it makes your results more consistent and more believable. For example, here, I do it every day at the same time. So we're just getting back from school, right? I do it for the same amount of time, for 15 minutes, right? And so this makes sure that I get consistent results. And these are what make experiments much better. So those are the two things that controls can be. So your homework is going to be to complete the independent, and dependent variables part of your graphic organizer, as well as the why do we need controls part. Also, if you have any questions, ask me tomorrow or whenever you watch this, ask me in class, and we'll be able to clear up any questions you might have about controls or anything like that. Here is one more thing. I thought this was cool. I was looking up cool experiments, and so pause this if you want to read it. I think it was pretty interesting, but I'm going to stop there for right now. So have a great evening.